He should have brought a pillow to this job interview. That guy put me to sleep. Yeah, I actually said those words to one of my managers after we interviewed a particularly boring, or maybe I should be kind and say a particularly unimpressive candidate for a job. You know, at my companies, I've hired hundreds of people. I've interviewed at least 10 times that many. So I guess you could say I've seen just about all the mistakes that people could make in a job interview. Well, in this video, what I want to do is I want to unveil the 6 critical mistakes that can sabotage a job interview, and that includes mistakes that maybe you are making. You know, from body language blunders to communication slip-ups, I'm going to help you discover the pitfalls to avoid so that you can make a lasting impression, an impression that could just help you, just might help you land that job of your dreams. Welcome back to Over 50 TV. My name is Lou Reyes. Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal the 6 critical mistakes that can be sabotaging your job interview. But before we dive into today's video, what I want to do is let you know that if you're looking to earn some extra cash, then you're going to want to subscribe to Side Hustle Rules. That's my other YouTube channel. On that channel, what I do is I help people kickstart what I call their side hustle journey. Now, that includes showing them how to earn extra cash and also explaining how to achieve financial independence. Now, if you want to learn about other opportunities to earn, then subscribe to Side Hustle Rules. There's a link to the channel, my Side Hustle Rules channel, in the description box of this video. So now, let's dive into it. Let's talk about those 6 critical mistakes that can be sabotaging your job interview. Lack of preparation. And I know if some of you out there may be saying, hey, Lou, I've been around the block. I'm over 50. I know that I've got to prepare before I go into a job interview. You'd be surprised how many folks don't prepare. At least they don't prepare thoroughly. Not only don't they understand every part of that position, of that job that they're applying for, but they also don't know enough about the company. If you want to impress that interviewer, know every single thing you can. Go on Google, write down 5 key points, 5 key things that are important about that business that you're going to be applying for. And I'm talking about that particular business. Now, I'm coming from the perspective of a guy who's hired. So if you're sitting across from me, if you give me more information than that person or those 5 people that came before you, if you really know about this job, that will impress me. So keep that in mind. Lack of preparation, one of the key reasons why somebody fails in a job interview. Poor body language. You know, nonverbal cues do matter. You want to show that you're confident. You want to avoid slouching or maybe excessive fidgeting, or you want to make sure that you are making eye contact. You know, imagine for a moment that you're the person who's doing the interviewing. You're the manager, and you've got a guy or a woman sitting across from you, and their resume looks great. You were impressed with the phone interview, but now they're sitting across from you, and now their eyes are all over, and they are just fidgeting away. And you're thinking to yourself, you know, why in the heck is this person so nervous, and why are they lacking confidence? And if they're going to be this way in an interview, chances are they're not going to fit into the position the way that you were hoping for them to fit. So think about it. Put yourself in their place. And sometimes what you got to do is you got to practice the interview, and not just answering the questions, but practice how you were going to look as you're answering that question. But poor body language, yeah, it's going to hurt your chances of getting that position. Overemphasis on weakness, on your weakness. You know, one of the standard interview questions, what I call the 8 standard interview questions that a lot of folks, a lot of managers or HR people will ask is, tell me about your weaknesses. Well, when you acknowledge your weakness, that's fine. But if you dwell excessively on that weakness, well, it just overshadows your strengths. And what I've always suggest is, acknowledge your weakness, describe how you've overcome that weakness, and describe how it is now a strength, how it's made you a better person. But what we do too often, I find, is that, we have a weakness. We're so happy to talk about that weakness. But as we talk about it, what happens is we dwell on it too long. And then, again, like I said, it just overshadows your strength. So keep your weakness short. It's a standard interview question. Give it maybe 60 seconds, 120 seconds, but after that, drop it and get onto your strengths. Talking too much or too little. Well, striking a balance in communication is crucial. When you ramble, it can be overwhelming, while at the same time, if you're too concise, it just leaves the interviewer with insufficient information. What you should do is aim for clear and concise responses. Now, I know this takes practice, especially if you're somebody who hasn't interviewed in a long time. So let me give you a tip. If you're being asked a question, number one, repeat the question. If they say to you, well, tell me about your weaknesses. Well, that's a good question. Let me tell you about my weaknesses. And then you give a 1 minute, maybe 1.5 to 2 minute response. And at the end of that response, of your response, what you simply say is, I hope I've answered that question sufficiently. Is there anything else that you want to know about my weaknesses? That just keeps it concise. It keeps your communication very, very effective, or makes it very effective, because you're answering the question and then you're following up with, hey, did I give you enough information? Negativity or criticism. And once again, I want to come from the perspective of somebody who's hired hundreds of folks, interviewed, as I said in the opening, 10 times that many at least. It's also coming from someone who has worked with hundreds of business owners and worked with them very, very closely over the course of years. And I can tell you this, most employers really don't care about your former employer. They don't care that they treated you poorly. They don't care that you were unhappy. They don't care that you really need to vent, because they don't want to hear it. All they want to know is what you can do for them. So, speaking negatively, or being critical about past employers or your experience, all it does is create a negative impression of you. You want to frame your response positively, and you want to focus on what you've learned from the challenges or from that other company. Now, I always found it best to just give a positive, or at least a benign, review of a past employer. Don't speak negatively, ever speak negatively about a past employer. Lack of authenticity. Years ago, I hired a young woman. She impressed the heck out of me. She answered every question perfectly. Every question in the interview, I was just like, wow, I've got to hire this woman. Brought her on board. A week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and I remember looking at her one day and thinking, this is not the person that I hired. So I called her in my office and I looked at her and I said those exact words. I said, what happened? You're not the person that I hired. And she looked at me and she was honest. I would give her that. She said, I wanted the job. So in other words, she told me what she thought I wanted to hear. She wasn't authentic. I hired her, and you know what happened? I fired her that moment. Right after that statement she made, I fired her. Pretending to be someone you're not will be detected, at least eventually. So be genuine, be your true self. Don't be or try to be somebody that you're not. Besides this, as I found out with this woman, with this example, if you pull the wool over the employer's eye or the hiring manager's eye or the HR manager's eye, eventually your true self will come out, and eventually you will be terminated. You'll be fired. You'll be shown the door. So be who you are. Be who you are. If that's not enough for them, well, that job's not for you. Well, there you go, my friends. I've just shared with you 6 common mistakes that can sabotage your job interview. And as you know, I've used a lot of my own experiences hiring hundreds of folks, as I said, interviewing at least 10 times that many. I shared with you my experiences, which I believe can help you. And another suggestion that I did make in this video was put yourself in the position of the hiring manager. I think if we put ourselves in that position, it helps us to understand more of what they're looking for. And that's a strong recommendation that I can make to you today. Also, another thing I will say, though, is remember this, is that this interview is really an evaluation, or not only the evaluation of your skills and your experience, but it's also an assessment. Whenever you're in an interview, it's an assessment of your fit for that position and how you're going to fit culturally with that organization. So That's all I got for you. If you've got any questions whatsoever, please go ahead, put them in the comments section. You can also send me an email. I want to remind you, though, that if you are interested in starting a side hustle, subscribe to Side Hustle Rules. That's my other YouTube channel. I tell you about a lot of side hustles, lots of other opportunities that you can tap into to make that extra money that you're looking to make. That's all I got for you. As I always say, have a great day, everybody.